We're live! Yay! You know, we start every single broadcast with "We're live."
I move we mix it up with a little of "It's alive."
Live. Welcome to Bring Out Your Geek, episode 30 something.
467.
I like it. Okay. I like the arbitrary numbers better than I like the real numbers. 467. I'm gonna write that one down. Okay. We're gonna talk some Thor. And you'll have to forgive me. I'm relegated to my studio where the dogs are also. So if there's odd background noises, it's the puppies.
Gotcha.
We have a menagerie here of a fish, a gecko, a cat, and 2 dogs. So it sometimes is a little hectic.
Yeah.
Okay. So
my Dubs would allow me to have much more than cats. I worry we would eat other things. So
yeah, there's some worry about that around here as well.
Yeah.
Nothing's safe, ever really. I mean, it is, they are animals. Beyond being beloved pets, they still have instincts and stuff. And I think nothing is ever really safe. Really, it's just sort of. It's a very temporary truce at all times.
Just kind of hope for the best.
Exactly. Just make sure that when you leave the house, they're all segregated properly, so that you don't come home to carcasses. Really, that's all I can do.
Try not to get blood on the furniture, babies.
Okay, so I have some notes. You have some notes. I want to do a quick synopsis. I sort of took this from a different angle, viewing it this time. Because I'm a Loki fan, so despite the fact that he's a little despicable in this, I still kind of wanted to be a little fair to him. So
by fair to him, you mean gloss over the bad things, highlight.
Just perhaps, I don't know, maybe shed a slightly different light on things. Okay, so what I have here is. The story is set up when Oden, king of Asgard, unwittingly designs a conflict between his sons Loki and Thor when he tells both boys that they were meant to be king, while actually only one of them can have the job. It's kind of how that starts, and then this plays out through the rest of the movie as the two sons fight to see who Daddy loves best. Frost giants of Jotunheim tried to steal a relic of power, which was lost to them during a battle ages ago during Thor's coronation. And it just sort of, leaps off from there. Thor takes his friends and wants to go whoop some ass. Just because he doesn't. What?
As he is wont to do.
Yes, yeah, because he's. And I have to say, at the beginning, I mean, despite the fact that he's a good-looking guy, and he is, although I'm not really big on the blonde, muscly guys. I struggle a lot with his sort of I don't know, sort of ego.
Yes.
And
I think I think you're supposed to, really. He's not fabulously likable at first. He is. No. He's affable, but he's pompous and not unlike Buttercup from The Princess Bride, not long on imagination.
Yeah. I like that you're picking on her. That's funny.
Well, they're pretty and blonde, the two of them.
That'd be a great mashup.
Oh my goodness, right? Yeah. Continue with the synopsis.
Oh no, so I just wanted that he goes off with his friends and sort of picks a fight, and which is where we learn that Thor's brother Loki first finds out that he's a frost giant because when he's touched by one of them in battle, he doesn't freeze like his compatriots. He actually sort of changes like a chameleon. His skin starts to change blue, sort of like one of them. From there, Odin saves the day. Thor is banished to Earth along with. Now, it's funny because each actor seems to pronounce this differently.
Yes.
There's Mjolnir, If you're Darcy, you say meow meow.
Which is, for our purposes, is probably the way to go.
No, so
You'll
he sends Thor's hammer. Uh, um, with Thor's hammer, and what Odin doesn't tell anyone is that he's enchanted the hammer only to be useful to those that are worthy, setting up a life lesson for Thor. Back in Asgard, Odin goes into Odin's sleep, and Oki goes about usurping his father's throne and attempting to ensure Thor does not come back to Asgard as the rightful ruler.
Mm. This is taking sibling rivalry to an entirely different level, which I suppose is appropriate of Asgard, but still.
It does, and I felt like it was sort of interesting because Thor is big and muscly and has a lot of brute force, and then there's Loki, who is not. And typically, people who are thrown into situations, especially in a warrior-like society, they're thrown into those types of situations, have to find other ways to win, and so he's found his way, which is not through brute force but through magic and manipulation. And I think it's interesting because when they do go, when Thor goes to pick his fight with the frost giants, and Loki walks up initially to see if he can get Hamdell to open the bridge, he sort of falls flat, and one of Thor's friends, what is his name? Volstagg, says, golden tongue turned to lead, and sort of like needles him. And it's very much like the little brother who just wants to be cool with his brother and his brother's friends, and it just doesn't work out that way, and he gets picked on instead. And what happens to those people? Sometimes
they bring a gun to school.
Sometimes it goes really bad. And that's kind of, if you really kind of look at what happens, there's just some needling that happens. And even when Odin goes into Odin's sleep and Thor's on the throne, they're laughing at him a little bit, like, really, and it's just like, you don't know how much worse you're making this for yourself by picking on him.
See, but I don't really get that full-on bullied thing, like, I feel like, yes, he gets needled, but no more so than they needle one another. I feel like, Loki, I love Loki, I love Loki, but giving him a free pass for the kind of behavior he develops because occasionally he's the butt of the joke.
Oh, no. No, I'm not talking about a free pass. I'm just saying,
I don't even think it qualifies as justification of any kind, really. Like, he just, they pick on each other the same way, but they're a little bit more affable about it, right? He's one of their friends, but he's always been manipulative, and I think that they do actually go to point to kind of talk about how he's always been that way, a little bit manipulative, a little bit, and, they're funny and good for a joke, and they like that, but, occasionally it takes it too far.
Right.
Right.
I mean, no, I'm not excusing his behavior. I'm just saying not everybody handles conflict in the same way.
No.
And he's certainly, not being their equal in battle necessarily with brute strength and force, which is sort of what they're all about. His way is completely different because it's the only way he's found to survive. And I'm not saying that he's doing the right thing because he's not. Clearly, the man is disturbed. But
though, they all go to the frost giant world, which he manipulates Thor into doing.
Yes.
Because he's playing a long game. He's a clever one.
Yes.
But when they do that, he holds his own in battle with his magic tricks and his illusions. Even, I think, more so than some of the other more warrior-focused types. He doesn't necessarily hold his own compared to Thor.
Right.
Or even Sif, really. I think she kind of outfought him. But the others, I think he was on par with for the most part because he was clever and he was using his illusion tricks to his advantage.
I think he just doesn't know when to ever turn that off.
No, exactly. Yes.
So anyway, watching it sort of on sort of that side of things, it's just it's an interesting sort of psychological,
Yeah.
um, I don't know the words I'm looking for, but
Well, I mean, honestly, it is a kind of an interesting portrayal of sort of older brother and younger brother, and that sense of betrayal that he feels when he finds out that his parentage isn't what he had always thought it was, and you can't even blame him for that. Like, you can blame him for a lot of things, but you can't even blame him for that one. Like,
right, right.
yeah, I'm gonna give him that.
Yeah, and and I mean, and both of them certainly have sort of an odd, in their own way, like an odd sort of daddy.
Yeah, very much. And it's funny because they both have a lot of Odin in them, for all that Loki is adopted, so to speak. You know, because Odin, for all that he's the All Father and the wise king and the whole nine, he sometimes can't see the forest for the trees as well. And he's good at teaching Thor lessons because they learn the same way. He's not so good at teaching Loki.
And you know what? Yeah, I was thinking about that, like right at the end, because as Loki's dangling over the abyss, and
Yes.
he's like, I did all of this for you, I did it for us, I did it for you. Perhaps that's not the time to say no.
Right?
Perhaps
Oh my God.
Odin could have chosen his words better, gotten his
Yep.
son up on the bridge,
And then been like, I appreciate the thought, but the execution needs some work, my love.
like just crappy dad move, man.
Like, I'm sorry. I know that Odin is the All Father and supposed to be the end all and the be all, but he is flawed as a character.
Yeah, he's not got dad skills.
He's not a good dad. I mean, he was wonderfully portrayed by Anthony Hopkins. This is not to say he was, poorly done by any stretch of the nation. He's very wonderfully portrayed, flaws and all.
Right, right.
But certainly, and I mean, they do have to set it up to some degree or another that way, because it is about Thor. I mean, the movie's called Thor, not Loki.
Right.
So it's about Thor's personal growth. But I think it's really neat the way that they actually managed to develop Loki as a character as well. So yes, he's the bad guy. Yes, he's not even the anti-hero. He's the bad guy.
Right.
But he is still sympathetic and complex.
He is. And one of the things that I was thinking about was, when we got Skylar, I had never really understood the whole dynamic of negative attention before. But she is one of those dogs that has to have your attention, 100% of your attention at all times. So if she's sitting on the sofa next to you, she expects you to pet her the entire time. Be that 4 hours, it's the entire time. And then when you stop, she'll paw at you. And so you pet her again, and then she'll paw at you, and then you pet her again, she'll paw at you. And when you finally had enough, and you're like, you know what, I just need to sit here for a little bit, could you knock that off? She goes and gets something she's not supposed to, and runs it right across in front of you, where you can see she's doing something wrong, so that she can still get attention. Negative attention, but attention. And this is like Loki.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he has not really developed the idea of not all attention is good attention.
Exactly. That's what I mean, when you look at this sort of like the follow-up, like Avengers, like, how much more negative attention could you possibly get?
Honestly. But no, it's neat because I think honestly you can see some of the flaws from Odin's character reflective in both sons.
Yes.
In Loki, it's this desperate need for attention because he's always felt like he's in Thor's shadow. But in Thor, you can see it too in this almost overcompensation. He's very sort of brash and out there and whatever, but it's because he doesn't really feel he's ever going to be able to live up to his father.
Right.
But the expectation that he will is there. And so it's like there's a measure that he's set up to fail to achieve all of the time.
Right.
And he does fail to achieve it, and that's like they both do. So like this whole movie, while it is called Thor and is about Thor and his development, and he does develop, and that's wonderful. Really, the movie ends up in a lot of ways being about Odin's failures as father.
That is true. It really is.
Oh my god.
Um, he's such a shitty dad.
He's really good. And you know what? It's too bad because we need more of Frigga because she is a fabulous mom.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love the contrast. He's an amazing ruler, but
Yes.
he's just a shitty dad.
Yeah.
You know, he just doesn't have those skills.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention one of the things that I really love is well, the movie takes off here on Earth when our heroine Jane runs over Thor with her car or van, takes him to the hospital, and then backs over him, leaving the hospital.
The
So
second
they're
time.
sort of thrown together, and he ends up leaving her company in order to try and retrieve Thor's hammer. Mjolnir, meow meow. However you want to say that. And one of my favorite things that I didn't catch the first time was that you are now introduced to Hawkeye, whom I love.
Yes. Oh, you didn't catch that the first time?
No, it was one of those things that just, it was dark. Those scenes were really, it was nighttime and dark, and it was just kind of hard to, and I was just so wrapped up in him beating everybody up. Even as he says, he's like, do you want me to slow him down, sir? Or are you sending in more guys for him to beat up?
You better make the call soon because I'm starting to cheer for this guy.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I didn't even catch that the second time I saw it, but I love that, they're introducing us to, we get more Coulson, obviously, because we were introduced to Coulson from
And can I just say,
but I know.
I love Coulson, so much. I love Coulson.
He's so great in just everything. I love his sense of humor.
I honestly, he just makes everything. It doesn't matter if he's in it for a cameo or the whole thing. He makes me smile. I have such a crush on Coulson. I've always been a Hawkeye girl. I love Hawkeye, love Hawkeye. I have Hawkeye on my desk at work, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm gonna need some Coulson for my desk too.
He is a lot of fun, and some of his lines in this are really great too. And I have some of them written down on my next page. Unable to pick up his hammer, Thor loses hope and allows himself to be detained by Coulson, the coolest agent in the history
Hells yeah.
of agents since James Bond. Loki visits Thor to further crush his spirits and lies to him, telling him that Odin is dead, and a truce with the Frost Giants pivots solely on Thor's banishment.
And his mother has forbidden him from coming back.
Yes, and his mother forbids him to come back. And I kind of feel like being banished and then, sort of the hammer not working for him anymore might have been enough to really keep him away, but Loki just had to push his luck a little further with that.
Well, he does really like to see Thor in pain, which is where he goes from, okay, sympathetic, you had a shitty dad and a tough, kind of level of expectation to go, and they lied to you your whole life about your parentage. So, okay, I'm starting to feel something. Oh, no, you are absolutely cruel to the only person who's ever been kind to you. No, you're cute as a button and I just love you, but no. That's actually, in fact, not okay.
Right.
And you're an adult, so you're responsible. Sorry, honey.
what do I have? After Eric Selvig, Jane's colleague, whom I also love through the Avengers movies and
Yes.
the next Thor movie and stuff. He's a fun character. I like him a lot in
So
Thor too.
entertaining.
Gets Thor out of Shield's custody. They go drinking, and we start to see sort of the life lesson sinking in for Thor. And I just wanted to mention, like, when they're drinking the Boilermakers, I love the look on Selvig's face. He's like, "Oh my God, would you look at that man drink?" He's just like,
Yeah, I know, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. I love that interaction too. And I love, oh my God, when Thor puts him to bed all drunk in Jane's trailer. He's like, I still don't know if I believe you're the god of thunder, but you are me.
he is awesome. I
That
like
was
Selvig.
amazing.
That
Love
was
it.
good. So and then obviously so Thor brings Selvig to crash, and then he and Jane get to bond.
Yay.
Yay.
Love Jane. I have to say, through this, there are a lot of times when, because the movie's about Thor, as we've mentioned. It's called Thor, so you know. But really, it's this.
Some burdens must just be weighty.
It's a good thing he has broad shoulders. So. And have you seen those arms? Because those are good arms to have. Just saying.
Those are some nice guns. Some nice guns. Yeah.
And I mean, it's funny because, yeah, I'm not usually like the big sort of. Certainly, Loki is more my normal kind of type in terms of body style and stuff like that. But
yes.
There is something about Chris Hemsworth as Thor that is jaw-dropping. Like, he pulls it off. Like, he really pulls it off, which is a difficult thing to do. Like, that's going to be either you're really trying to live up to something and you're failing at it, or you actually manage to pull it off, and he does. He was brilliantly cast for that role. But I love Jane. I love Jane in this role because she's human, and she's unabashedly human. So, and she's a strong and intelligent woman who can also be looking at the god of thunder and going,
yeah.
Sorry, I just hit you with my car. Like, and it doesn't make her any less intelligent, and it doesn't make her any less strong. I find her very true portrayal of somebody in that position.
Right.
For that whole time.
And she sort of stands in for us as we fangirl.
Yes, but I like it because that fangirling doesn't make her appear weak, which it often does on screen.
Right.
And it is often portrayed as weak, or So I don't like the idea that is so common in pop culture that in order to be strong, you have to be disdainful.
Right.
I don't get that in hipster culture. It's like, if you like something, like it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, why should you not enjoy something? Why should you not be joyful, be happy, be enthusiastic? Like, these are not weak characteristics, and I don't like the fact that they are portrayed as such. So I love the fact that she is very intelligent. She's academically intelligent. Well, that means that maybe she might not be completely socially with it. And she has a couple of moments, I don't know what to say. You're pretty,
Yeah. Yeah.
The god of thunder fell out of the sky in a wormhole and smashed into your car.
And likes her.
Proud to have a moment of, what is happening?
Yeah, and he clearly likes her too. So
Exactly.
I mean, what's not to be giddy there,
You have this guy and he's smiling at you. Yeah, you're allowed to take a little detour off the road accidentally.
I know, it's like, oh, I would do that. That would
totally
be
do
me.
that. My boyfriend smiles at me like that, and I'm like, oh, eyes on the road, Bronwyn.
Straight ahead, Jane. Straight ahead.
So yeah, I like Jane. I think she's a true portrayal of someone in that role. But I think she's internally consistent throughout the movie. And of course, Natalie Portman is so charming. She is just lovely to watch on screen. So I think it's a really great combination, and they have good chemistry, and the supporting cast have great chemistry. Like, oh my goodness, what's her dude who calls everything meow meow?
Darcy?
Yes.
Yes.
He's funny. That character could so very easily have been obnoxious.
I love
Horribly
the hospital.
Obnoxious. But she's so funny.
When they're at the hospital, And she's like, she hit him with her car. And she's like, well, you tased him. She's like, yes, I did.
Yeah. No.
And she's just totally yes, I did. Just totally
And,
unabashed, like owns that. I was just like,
you know,
oh, I love her.
and when she does tase him, she's like, what? He was freaking me out. Oh my god.
I know, it was
Like, I'm
really
totally putting that on Facebook, and takes a picture of him. He's got that mouthful of waffles, and he's like, like, I don't know how she pulls that off.
No, and she provided some great sort of lighthearted moments that
Yes.
broke things up a little bit.
Exactly. Like when she's telling, you know, them that she lost her iPod because they took all of the research and all of the computers and all of this work and all, like, everything that Jane cares about. And she's like, they took my iPod. I just downloaded like 20 songs on that. Like, shut up. iPod, really?
Oh, yeah.
But you like her, and you know, it could very easily have gone into the realm of obnoxious, but again, I think the casting was brilliantly done, so.
It was. So Thor's friends have to plan to go back and get Thor from Earth.
Yeah.
And I can hear my own voice again. I hate that. I love when they are walking through the town
Yes.
where he is, and Coulson's men said, what did he say? Xena, Jackie Chan, and Robin Hood are here.
They're like, I wonder if there's a convention in town.
So Loki then, of course, gets peeved and sends this giant indestructible robot weapon to kill Thor and his buddies. And I love when the robot sort of lands, and this guy's like, you know, one of the agents looks at Coulson and he's like, "Is that one of Stark's?" And he's like, "I don't know. He doesn't tell me anything." Just sort of like.
Oh god, yeah, I love Coulson. He's so funny. He's just so great at deadpan.
Yes, and I like the interplay between, like, you know, bringing in Stark and Iron Man, and there's a brief discussion when Shield comes and takes all of Jane's equipment, where Selvig sort of mentions Bruce Banner.
Yes. Yeah, I have a friend who fought with these guys. It did not go well.
Right. You know, he mentions the gamma ray studies and stuff, and I thought that was fun. I like how they tie those things in. Yes. So each movie is like part of that web, and
it makes the universe internally consistent as well.
Yes.
Which is really nice.
Yes.
And you know that, and I like the fact that as the movies progress too, you see fallout and consequences from the previous things. So it's not just, oh, happily ever after. Oh no, something else has happened, and it's completely separate and has nothing to do with any of this. Like up to and including Iron Man 3, where you have Tony with some PTSD after Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I mean, the guy went up into a wormhole and fell down out of the sky and was picked out of the sky by the Hulk and then smashed. Like, yeah, I think PTSD is appropriate. So I do. I like that sort of building from on top of each other, and so building quite a foundation within the Marvel universe and this specific movie universe. I like that a lot. So.
Right. So Thor almost dies at the hands of the robot, and upon asking his brother to spare everyone, he becomes worthy of the hammer, and his powers and hammer are restored. When he's standing there in like sort of his full Thor regalia, Coulson's like, I don't think you've been completely honest with me.
I don't know. I like when Jane comes up, she's like, is this how you normally look? He's like,
yeah.
Just about. She's like, good look.
I know.
Oh, God. And I like how Thor is sort of at this stage negotiating in his very Thor-like fashion for all of Jane's stuff from Coulson. And Coulson's like, we're on the same side and we'll fight on the same side, but only if you return all of her stuff.
Yeah.
Darcy's like, and my iPod. I just really, it's amazing. I love that she's the intern.
Yeah.
Because no one else applied. She's no history in astrophysics. She's a life sciences major of some kind.
Well, and she gets her own unpaid intern in the next movie, so that's
Yes.
kind of funny too.
Which
the unpaid intern has an unpaid intern.
Bonus material for everybody out there. I have a ton of notes, and we've talked about a ton of notes. And you'd think I've been referring to my ton of notes, but all of my ton of notes about Thor: The Dark World, because that's what I thought we were discussing.
Oh, okay, well, I have notes for that, so that's next time. Okay, so then I said Thor returns home to deal with Loki and return his father to the throne. He and Loki fight, destroy the Rainbow Bridge, and the connection to Earth, and Thor and Jane are separated.
Until next time.
Yeah. And that's when Loki confesses, hanging off the bridge, that he'd done it all for his father. You know, he could have, and he does sort of mention that a little bit beforehand, that he could have basically killed the leader of the giants, killed all of those monsters, which he is one of, and you know, he could have done it for his father. And they're just like, no.
Yeah. Oh, Oden. Seriously. Time and a place, dude. Time and place. Although, can we take a minute to talk about the Rainbow Bridge? Because A, awesome, beautiful,
yes.
love the visual, also stunning. But also Heimdall.
I know, I love him. Idris, what was his name?
Idris Elba.
Yes.
Whom I deeply also want to play Doctor Who at some point.
Yeah.
Side note.
Okay, sorry.
I love him. I mean, oh my God, gorgeous. Oh my God, gorgeous. All that aside, fabulous in this. Like, he has a relatively minor role, but it's also kind of pivotal in a couple of spots. And I love it. I love his interactions with people. I love the way he interprets the letter of the law, you know, because loyalty is so important to him, and it's such a critical part of his character, and part of the whole Asgardian character, right? So
yes,
which is where I think Loki starts to show his frost giant a little, because he's the one who doesn't show the loyalty that everyone else displays to such a degree, right?
Right.
But yeah, I do. I love Heimdall. I love how he is playful in his very deadpan way. You know, I love how he communicates with people differently, and how he sees right through everything. And that's kind of the interesting point of him, right? Is he's the watcher. He can watch all the different worlds, all the different realms, and he sees right through Loki.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. Oh, Heimdall.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think I have a lot of other stuffs. I think we hit on all of it.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
Despite it being less than accurate, because I've actually gotten a shot of tranquilizer in the butt at Niar when Thor's in the hospital, and he's all like, you know, how dare you assault, you know, the son of Oden in this way, and blah blah blah, and he's like flipping out, and he's tossing orderlies left and right, and then they shoot him in the butt with the sedative, and he's out like that, just his face just sort of squeaks down the glass. I love that. Oh, it gets me every time. I laugh every time I see that.
Every time. And like, the physical humor in that movie is surprisingly good. You know, when Jane keeps hitting him with the car, and she's like, I swear I'm not doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, much of the physical humor is sort of also related to him. You know, he gets run over, he gets shot with the sedative, he throws the mug on the floor.
I like this drink. Mash.
And then the part where he's separated from Jane because he wants to go and find the hammer, and he goes into the pet shop and asks for a horse, and they're like, we don't have horses. We've got like, gerbils, mice, birds. He's like, give me one of those
I can
big enough
ride.
to ride.
That was honestly my next point. And then the pet shop owner wearing the ugly sweater that's going to win the contest at the Christmas party. And he's looking at him like, okay, I've got that giant gerbil in the back. What?
Not from around here, are ya?
Not so much, no.
Yeah, he's not real good at blending in.
No, I don't think he knows what it means.
What about you?
My favorite part. That's tough to say because there are a few of them. But I really do like the part where Thor is fighting his way through, still so convinced that he'll be able to pick up Mjolnir and just go because it's always been his birthright and he's never really had to actually work at anything before. Everything's just seemed to come so naturally to him, right? So the consequences of anything are kind of foreign because he's never really had to face them. So he's completely confident he's going in there and he's beating people up left, right, and center. And we get our little snapshot of Hawkeye, which of course is going to be part of my favorite part of the movie because I love, love, love Hawkeye, and I think Jeremy Renner's just fabulous in that role. Also, what a cutie! Oh my god. Anyway, but when he's up there and he says, "Seriously, sir, you're going to have to make this call because I'm starting to cheer for this guy."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh. This is all my favorite things happening all at once. I've got Coulson, I've got Thor beating people up, and I've got Hawkeye cheering him on. I am a happy girl. Yeah, no, I do. I love that. It was such a fun movie. I remember Thor was one of the first, not like the first, obviously, of this Marvel universe, but one of the first ones where I still wasn't, like I didn't know I was going to love everything quite so much. Like I didn't see Captain America right away because I honestly had no interest in seeing it. It wasn't, like Captain America's never been a hero that I followed in comics and things like that, right? So I didn't really have a lot of buy-in for that movie, right? Well, especially as a Canadian.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
he's not Captain Maple Leaf.
It doesn't have the same ring, right? Captain Canuck, maybe I'd be there, but and the Hulk movies, not as inspiring as I wanted them to be, not as fun. The Edward Norton one I liked better, but still, not quite there. But I went and saw Thor because I love a superhero movie. What are you going to do, right? And then I had to go and see it again because I got out of that theater just like blown away. I thought it was amazing. And can we talk just a second about Kenneth Branagh as a director of a movie like Thor? Like I really didn't
unexpected.
But he did it brilliantly. Brilliantly. And I think you could see some of his more, Shakespearean bent in how some of that was put together and keeping a very simple story well executed, which I think is one of the things about Shakespeare and that has always been so successful. And not that I'm comparing Thor to Shakespeare, so don't vilify me here, but I'm just saying that there are some elements of the way the story is constructed that were reminiscent.
Yes.
And I thought he did an incredible job spearheading this project that could have sort of spiraled out of control very easily, as some of the other historical movies have done, where you're trying to do too much and put too much into it.
And of course, love Loki, but Tom Hiddleston and Kenneth Branagh worked together on Wallander.
Yeah.
And Tom had, I guess, gone to the gym to beef up, and apparently did a little bit. I don't know how much he could really, given his frame.
Yeah, he's
under. He actually wanted to audition for Thor, and gave him Loki instead. And thank God he did.
Yes, honestly, because Tom Hiddleston is part of the reason that Loki is such a wonderful character.
Right.
I mean, there are very few bad guys I sympathize with as much as Loki, and a lot of that is is the portrayal by Tom Hiddleston, definitely.
Right.
So
I agree. All right. So given that, we will move forward with Thor 2, The Dark World.
Ooh, where I already have notes.
All right, guys. Recommendation. How many stars would you give this out of? I don't know. We do 5 last time. We did a rating.
Yeah, we'll go with 5. I mean, next time we can go with 8 if you want.
I give it a 5.
Yeah, honestly, I loved it.
All right.
Beginning to end, I thought it was well constructed.
All right. Join us next time for Thor 2. And go watch Thor if you haven't seen it.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Bye, guys.